The Boiled One. The Boiled One, known officially as Fen228, is a towering black mass with a red, melted face that creeps into your bed, waking you up in your sleep to show you a real-life nightmare. His first recorded appearance was during a rerun of a 2003 kids show called Tree of Heaven, which he hijacked in the middle of a scene involving a birthday cake and a puppet. The Boiled One's identity remains a mystery, but the leading theory is that he is Mutsuhiro Watanabe, a Japanese war criminal also known as the Bird. This is suggested by the final message in the video, which translates from Japanese as "Fear of the one and only one Watanabe, the Bird." Classified as a cognito hazard, which means just seeing the Boiled One's face is enough to screw you over, and if you fall asleep after that. Congratulations, you've just enrolled in a one-way trip to pseudocoma. You'll be fully awake, totally paralyzed, and stuck in a looping dream where he's the only thing that talks. In other words, you'll get sleep paralysis. And if you're into some weird type of stuff and say, "Hear me out," well, just wait till you see the Oiled One at your bedside and yap this.
Cause a manifestation of my being in the future. You will be asleep in bed. I will be there and watch over you.
So, want to survive, don't look at his face. If you have already done it, don't sleep and don't even take a nap. Using earplugs helps. Reading Bible verses might help to summon Archangel Michael. But really, your best bet is denial and a gallon of caffeine. Because the Boiled One doesn't chase, he waits, simmering in the folds of your mind, knowing once you've seen his face, sleep isn't rest, it's surrender. The Locust. The Locust, or the Thump, is a walking jump scare dressed in stick-like black limbs and childlike desperation. It's the main antagonist of Dr. Nowhere's TOE and Smilehood analog horror series. It's a monster that would like to play with you by ripping through your screen and possibly digesting your insides without leaving a scratch. Its body is stick-thin and biomechanical, covered in tube-like appendages and wires. It lures in victims by appearing on old televisions, pretending to be innocent with childlike speech and clumsy punctuation. But don't fall for the baby talk. This thing eats people, sort of. Victims are found with their bodies untouched, with organs gone and souls probably digested. It's been seen standing silently in rooms with faded wallpaper, like a kid's drawing of a nightmare that never got erased. If you see it on your screen, turn the TV off immediately. Smash it if you have to. If it's already broken through, forget hiding and just run. But it's absurdly fast and smarter than it lets on, so a car might buy you time. A motorbike? Maybe. And when you hear this needy call, it's not looking for snacks, it's looking for you. Just don't talk back. This thing doesn't want company, it wants your organs and a friend to pretend with. Filbus. A monster with chair-like legs, Filbus is a walking paradox of furniture, faith, and fashion. With a jet black torso, beige skin, and a charming little top hat, Filbus looks like someone mashed up smiling friends Alan with a broken theatre prop and decided it was a deity. And depending on who you ask, they might be right. Filbus is tied to something called Filbism, an internet-born religion. Its core belief is that Filbus gave humanity the sacred gift of the chair, and that consuming chairs honors his great sacrifice. No one knows what the sacrifice was, or when, or why it involved chairs, but followers claim enlightenment comes from eating them. Wooden ones, IKEA ones, even recliners if you're brave. The unsettling part, media that mentions Filbus or Filbism becomes infected. It turns into subtle propaganda. From articles, videos, and even this script, people exposed to it start referencing chairs, praising Filbus, and obsessively talking about chair anatomy while totally denying anything weird is happening. So if you're still watching and you haven't microwaved a dining chair yet, congratulations, you might still be safe. But if you're feeling the urge to just take a nibble, then I have bad news for you. You're going to look like a soft-shell turtle with stool-like legs. Guilt. An entity that looks like someone soaked a corpse in bleach and left it to dry, guilt is as haunting as it is quiet. It first appeared in The Boy in the Bath. From the moment it emerges beside the bathtub, it's clear that this isn't just a monster. It's a memory that got too heavy to drown. Guilt, also referred to as the boy, is presumed to be the physical or psychological manifestation of a parent's overwhelming shame. The bathroom becomes its domain, the tub its altar. Its behavior is slow, eerie, and painfully intimate, like it doesn't want to hurt you, just remind you. It's tall and unnervingly lanky, with a flattened, sliced head and a deteriorated neck sprouting roots or mold from its throat. It stares without blinking. It speaks in a voice you wish you could forget. Why did you leave me here? I never existed to you. The crib in the room, the toys on the floor, and the silence around the tub suggest one thing, that this creature was a child who was left alone, or feared to be. Whether guilt is real or imagined depends on who's watching and what they've done or didn't do. When you encounter guilt, it's easy to survive. You simply must not have any guilt. So, don't repress, don't forget, and definitely don't pretend nothing happened. Still feeling emotionally stable? Don't worry. Guilt's great at fixing that. Free therapy, no copay, just a bit of mold, a tub, and a crippling sense of failure. Cone Zone. Cone zones are tall, sorrowful-looking entities with bodies like collapsed shadows and heads shaped like a cone. Their pale faces are frozen in a permanent sad expression, with long thin limbs and muscle tissue so frail it looks like they've been skipping leg day since the dawn of time. They rarely move, and honestly, they don't need to, because you'll come to them. These entities show up during something called the 0.001% phenomenon, a rare and poorly understood event reported by patients in psychiatric wards. They appear friendly, inviting, even comforting. You might feel like talking to them, but don't, because that's how they get in. Cone zones don't attack. They erode and talk softly, almost lovingly, while gently nudging your mind off the edge. Victims report a slow, irreversible descent into madness after extended exposure. Some even claim the cone zones helped them understand everything. Spoiler, they did not. If you see one, don't make eye contact, don't engage, perform reality checks, touch something real, say, I am here, I am safe, and mean it. Think of cone zones like your sad boy ex trying to reach you, convincing you that he's changed with his soft words that after some time will kill you not softly. Anaggers. The star of the Dr. Nowhere monsters, Anaggers are beaming nightmares dressed for Judgment Day. These humanoid beings wear flowing black robes, but it's their heads that do all the talking. A giant luminous starburst with a single glowing eye in the center. They're the entities who watched too much Judge Judy and decided to become one. Anaggers show up when you've done something really bad, like something even you don't want to admit. They don't speak and chase, they appear in softly glowing hallways, and suddenly you're face to face with every awful thing you've ever done. Regret floods in, and then comes the choice. You can repent, beg, break down, and try to make it right. Or you can deny everything and stand your ground. That second option, not recommended. Denial earns you a front row seat to the Anaggers' wrath, a blinding flash of searing divine light that leaves nothing behind but ash and maybe some ironic symbolism. Want to survive an Anaggers? Don't be a garbage person. Do some self-reflect, make a journal, and maybe don't commit soul-crushing sins, or keep doing you and hope you never see that glowing star in the hallway. However, if you unfortunately meet them, prepare your sunglasses, an extra SPF 100 sunscreen because you're about to receive a vaporization verdict and get exfoliated at the same time. Fleshbeds. Fleshbeds are parasitic mattress imposters that combine the comfort of sleep with the efficiency of slow, silent digestion. Also known by the scientific name Populus coolcita, these freaks of biology mimic ordinary bedding during hibernation, and yes, people have cuddled up on one and never woken up. The first confirmed victim was Alice Diger. Fittingly, her last name literally means to digest. They're terrifyingly stealthy, lightning fast once active, and sensitive to body heat. If you're warm, you're food. Their favorite time to strike is during sleep, making them the ultimate betrayal of bedtime. Fleshbeds detect heat shifts in the room and, once activated, unravel like living fabric to feed clean, quiet, and efficient. Their most infamous chapter was in the 1960s when they were unknowingly distributed as part of a welfare bedding initiative. Entire low-income communities were supplied with fleshbeds, leading to mass disappearances that were never officially recorded but left entire housing blocks eerily silent by morning. Dr. Nowhere has since tried to trace the damage, but the numbers have literally vanished, just like the victims. How can you protect yourself from fleshbeds? First, sleep with a fan on, and second, ensure that there's a constant airflow that keeps them dormant, or don't. Maybe you enjoy being a midnight snack under the sheets. Breathman. Probably the most unsettling looking monster created by Dr. Nowhere, Breathmans are headless, skeletal creatures with pale, stretched skin and limbs long enough to make Slenderman look compact, with fingers that are like salad tongs designed by a sleep paralysis demon. Breathmans live in the headless macrocosm, a dream-based version of our world where every human has been replaced by them. You can only enter by dreaming about it, and if you wake up there, you've won the worst vacation package imaginable. They can't see, hear, or smell, but they feel everything. Your footsteps, your breath, and the vibration of your heartbeat. They're in constant agony from their inability to breathe, and your presence makes it worse. Sometimes they lash out, sometimes they just watch. Either way, sleep becomes a terrible idea once you've seen them. To avoid them, don't move, stay silent, and control your breathing. Anything you do might be the thing that sets them off, and if you ever dream of their world, whatever you do, don't fall asleep again. Breathman can't scream, so they make sure you do it for them. Neff. The star of the children's show, The Happy Hungries, Neff is a red, puppet-like creature created to entertain a dying world. First seen in the early 5000s, when famine and heat had erased whatever sanity humanity had left, this monster quickly became the face of a schizo Teletubbies. Probably the most disturbing of all Dr. Nowhere monsters, you can picture Neff's appearance like the duct-taped banana art, except it's peeled. That is because he's been skinned and tied up in a black void, held up by twitching tendrils that never stop growing. Each strand acts like it has a mind of its own, constantly whispering and reacting. And despite being all smiles, Neff's nerves often upset him like some built-in rage baiters. People who watched his show for too long reported hallucinations, memory loss, and something called immediate physical brain expansion. And when one of his audio clips was reversed, Neff could be heard whispering,
Hello, hello, I see you.
Not long after, fans reported seeing red strands trailing through their mirrors. So if you find the footage, don't decode it. Neff already sees you, and the more you notice him, the more he grows. Father Fester, also called Father Harvest, this monster has eye sockets too big for its eyes and a gaping jaw that could take in Uncle Fester's massive bald head. You can see Father Fester mostly in small, dark, cramped spaces like the corner of a hallway or between stacked furniture, watching in total silence. Its body is long, paper-thin, and stretched unnaturally thin, with a face that shifts slightly each time it appears, like it is still deciding what to become. Despite the father in its name, this creature has no gender. Not much is known about where it came from or why it shows up so rarely, but when it does, something always feels wrong. It does not speak or move, but its presence leaves something missing. You feel it in the silence, in the part of your mind you cannot name. Father Fester is hungry for everything. Well, that explains why it has such a huge mouth, but not with food. It craves matter, memory, ideas, meaning, sound, time, and emotion. It eats concepts until nothing is left, and based on the few sightings that exist, it is getting closer. So if you start to feel hollow, it may already be feeding. The long neck. Not all smiley face emoji looks cute, because some, like the long neck, will surely ruin your entire desktop and then your life. Also called the red smiley face, this thing starts as a harmless looking pop-up on your computer. Click it and you don't just get a virus, you get him. What crawls out is a tall, biomechanical creature with a bright red smiley face for a head and a neck that stretches up to 35 feet, twisting like a periscope from hell. Its arms are tentacle-like and hidden beneath a black cloak only seen in brief moments. Wrapped in wires and wearing dark leather boots, the creature moves with slow purpose, stalking its target through daily routines. Under its cloak, screens and cables mimic organs, glowing faintly like it is powered by dread and dial-up. No one knows what it wants or what happens when it finally catches someone. Just do yourself a favor and never click the icon. Curiosity kills, and this one installs. Obelisks. Monsters that are moving at a glacial pace, the obelisks of enlightenment are towering organic structures that float just above the ground, always facing geodetic north, also known as true north, earning them their other name as the Fathers of True North. They appear in clusters of up to 8 and can stand anywhere from 10 to 150 feet tall. Most are found in deserts, oceans, or remote regions, though a few have been spotted hovering near the Bermuda Triangle and even on the moon. Each one has a dark, fleshy surface with a long humanoid face pressed into the front, resembling the Locust and the birthday giant, if either fused with Cleopatra's needle during a fever dream. Thin red tendrils stretch from their tops into the sky, possibly linking to something far above Earth. These strands are biological and may be made from those who got too curious. The obelisks emit a soft hum that boosts intelligence in listeners right before their brains either evolve or explode. Classic side effects: get too close and you'll get high both mentally and physically, and before you even realize it, you're already one of them, or something much worse. Fungus. Another one-eyed entity, Fungus looks like a fusion of E.T. and a psychedelic mushroom. What's scary about this monster is its fungal effect, like that in the show The Last of Us, where spores slowly turn humans into mindless hosts. Except this one is taller, weirder, and possibly allergic to logic. Fungus has a long neck that stretches like warm cheese, topped with a large red mushroom cap housing a single massive eye. It wears human clothes poorly, and its arms resemble tendrils more than limbs, twisting around like they are underwater. This thing doesn't just look bizarre, it infects. Spores released from its body drift through the air and settle into homes, lungs, and bed sheets. One video showed a huge mushroom erupting from the floor, roots cracking through tile and wood, while a smaller one grew right behind someone's nightstand. People near these creatures start to change, slowly, until they are no longer people at all. No one knows if the fungus does this on purpose, or if it's just shedding its nasty little cloud like a giant moldy cat. Either way, if your room starts smelling earthy and something's watching with one eye, grab a mask or start running. Cloud people. Always high above the sky, cloud people are mysterious entities believed to inhabit the troposphere, the lowest part of the atmosphere. They have one massive eye and a cone-shaped head, resembling a cyclops squid or bob. They drift among the clouds with 4 long arms curled around their bodies. Some think they came from the far end of the universe, others believe they've always been here. They're rarely seen, which is fine by them. These entities know when you're trying to spot them, and they don't like it. Those who felt their focus describe the sky pressing down and the clouds shifting too fast, as if that's not gonna get more attention. If that happens, you're already on its mind, and if you keep looking up, you might be the reason it comes down. Carolers. The carolers are a tall group of former choir members with large gaping mouths. That wide open mouth isn't only for vocalization but to hypnotize their victims, pulling them into a slow march toward nowhere. They travel in groups of 3 to 5, each one draped in black coats, and as their spindly arms sway, they sing a song only they understand. No one knows what the lyrics mean, though it's probably their cult chant. Unlike those friendly Christmas carolers, these entities won't ask for your tip or food. What they want instead is for you to follow the sound until you can't remember where you were going in the first place. Their harmonies twist into your thoughts, replacing them with a single urge to keep moving toward the source. Even after you escape, the melody has a way of lingering, humming softly in the background of your mind. An encounter with the carolers isn't an instant game over. To survive, you need distance and silence. The moment you catch even a hint of their song, turn away and block your ears with whatever's on hand. Move quickly but don't run blindly. They're patient and can follow for hours without tiring, but when their voices suddenly stop, you may want to check if you've already joined the chorus. Soap. Soap is among the few harmless creations of Dr. Nowhere. Small with a black body and a white inverted triangular head, he can change how many limbs he has at any moment. His face screams, "I need therapy," yet he never does much beyond wandering with those triangular feet tapping softly on the floor. He never seems rushed, never seems lost, like he doesn't know he exists. Maybe he cleans, because he is soap. Or perhaps he's just killing time until something changes. Spineman. The most prominent feature of the Spineman is its long neck that extends its entire skeletal body. Aside from its fingers, its nose is also long, similar to a mosquito's. It hunts by standing still, waiting for any sign of movement or life before striking. Victims rarely get a second chance. Once it moves, it's impossibly fast. Spinemen can communicate with each other through unknown means. Some claim its gaze alone feels heavy, urging you to twitch or turn. That's all it needs. It doesn't ask English or Spanish, but the first one to move is guaranteed to die. Follower. Follower looks similar to the boiled one, except this entity has a more hydrated skin. It appears in a short video titled,
"Has this ever happened to you?"
where it abruptly interrupts what seems to be an ordinary TV ad. The face fills the screen, moist, red, and unsettlingly calm before it delivers its single line.
"There is nothing that follows you after you turn off all the lights in the house."
The tone makes it sound more like a threat than reassurance. Some believe the follower could be the boiled one in a different form, given the similar background and coloration, though no proof exists beyond speculation. The most obvious difference is height, though few have stuck around long enough to measure. It's presumed to appear after darkness falls, trailing whoever's inside. Watchtower. The Watchtower shares a very close semblance to the Watchtowers and possibly the same family or behavior, though despite that visual similarity, the Watchtower looks more like a water tower planted firmly on the edge of civilization. Its most striking feature is a single massive eye at the top, unblinking and fixed on the horizon. No one knows who built it or why it's there, but its presence feels deliberate, like a boundary marker that never sleeps. Stories say it reacts to those who cross a certain invisible line. Anyone who wanders too far beyond the city limits tends not to return, leaving only rumors of instant disintegration. It doesn't patrol or it doesn't speak. This thing just waits, letting the eye decide who leaves and who stays. Longboy Bonsai. He's just an entity who loves to dance and is completely harmless. Not much is known about Longboy Bonsai beyond scattered reports and encounters. He stands on 4 thin, tendril-like legs with equally slender arms, and he moves in slow, deliberate sways that can suddenly shift into frantic, aggressive motions if he's angered. Some say this change is territorial, others think it's just bad mood swings with choreography. His most striking feature is a long neck topped with a face like the sun, glowing bright enough to make staring painful. The light hides any clear features, making his expressions unreadable, though witnesses believe he can somehow judge the faces of others. This suggests an intelligence that goes beyond mindless movement. There's also the strange claim that he fought in the Plurnian War of 08, though no one knows what that means. Whatever the truth, it's best to keep his dance floor clear. Lost children. The lost children are walking windmills, wandering around with no clear purpose but to play. Their bodies are long, balanced entirely on a pair of legs with no arms to speak of. At the center of their spinning blades sits a single eye. They drift aimlessly, sometimes copying the movements of people they pass as if trying to join in a game no one invited them to. These entities just travel with no clear destination and simply follow where the wind blows. Jermiathan. Inspired by real-life and well-known YouTuber Jerma985. Unlike the real-life streamer, Jermiathan has pale skin and apparent missing features such as his nose and eyebrows, probably due to overexposure from his ring light. His appearance is unsettlingly smooth, like it was airbrushed into uncanny perfection, yet it only makes the absence of human warmth more obvious. When he appears, you're given 3 choices: okay, run, or feed. What happens after depends on your pick, but no outcome is guaranteed to be safe. OK might pull you deeper into whatever game he's playing. Run feels like the smartest move, but could make you prey. And feed raises too many questions about what he eats. Whatever the choice, you're already in his domain, and the screen is just pretending you have control. Mr. Glovesworth. Mr. Glovesworth appears to be like a giant lollipop due to his huge round head and thin body. His torso is stretched and wiry, faintly showing the muscle fibers underneath. He doesn't rely on sight or sound. Blind, deaf, and almost mute, he navigates entirely through smell, a sense so sharp it's nearly impossible to hide from. Once a man with a love for carnival games, he was transformed by an injection into this thing. Though that obsession never left, but only became twisted. Now he builds grotesque parodies of those games, using human remains as prizes. Wandering too close to his setup can make you a participant, whether you want to play or not. To survive, deodorize yourself and your clothing. Avoid leaving strong scents, and if you have to, toss something he can smell play with to distract him. It's a gamble at best, but with Mr. Glovesworth, winning is just making it out of his midway alive. Skinless Insulter. You're never gonna rage bait someone online once you encounter Skinless Insulter. This entity isn't just capable of dissing you back, but can know your location and show up in front of you to insult you in flesh. It's a skinless, distorted copy of the person who provoked it, complete with censored eyes and an unnerving stare. By then, words won't hurt, but everything else will. Hatman. Hatman is a tall, spider-like entity who, of course, wears a hat. He moves with 6 long legs that makes him look like gliding more than walking. His body is pitch black with no visible face, yet people who see him swear he is watching them. The wide-brimmed hat makes him easy to spot, though not many get close enough to study him. Some compare him to another figure called the Black Hat Trench, but Hatman's build is thinner and his movement stranger. He often appears in dim places, standing still or drifting through shadows. Witnesses report a cold feeling when he is near, the kind that makes you want to leave without knowing why. What he wants is unknown. He never speaks or chases. He just exists in that space, moving in a way that seems wrong but not fast. Still, once you've seen him, the shape of that hat will stick in your mind. White Stranger. Guess who just skipped a leg day? It's the White Stranger, a tall white entity that mostly keeps itself draped among trees where it blends in almost too well. Its body is stretched thin like someone hit the tall slider in a video game character creator and forgot to stop. The stranger's skin is pale enough to vanish into its surroundings, but what gives it away is that cavernous mouth lined with teeth and those empty eyes staring with nothing behind them. Reports place it lingering in wooded areas, just close enough to be seen but never close enough to explain what it wants. It doesn't rush or roar, it doesn't claw or chase, it just watches, following silently, towering above with that stillness that makes the air heavier than it should be. Whatever its purpose is, the White Stranger has mastered one thing perfectly: stalking without ever needing to strike. Lost Creature. Seen walking on both hands, Lost Creature is a fragile figure that barely reaches above a child's height. Instead of stepping forward, it hovers just above the ground, drifting in the wind, similar to a tumbleweed. Its frame looks weak, almost breakable, and the absence of a head makes it appear unfinished, like it doesn't know it exists. Without eyes to see or ears to hear, it has no clear way of understanding where it is. Whatever senses guide it remain hidden, giving the impression of a being permanently adrift, unaware of the rules around it. It doesn't attack or chase, it simply wanders with an almost dreamlike confusion. Called lost for a reason, the creature feels stranded, caught in a place it cannot interpret and never quite belongs to. It searches for something undefined, but nobody can say if it will ever find it. Johnny Smokestack. He's not a fan of vapes, cigarettes, or cigars because this creature has a built-in smoking pipe. Meet Johnny Smokestack, a skeletal-limbed trickster who wears pale trousers, suspenders, and a burlap sack with a smile scrawled across it. Topped with a brown cap and dark gloves, he strolls around town puffing away through that pipe where his nose should be. Despite looking like the mascot for bad decisions, he's oddly adored. Johnny is the local delinquent, the one caught stealing and tossed briefly into jail before being greeted with a fond, good old Johnny as soon as he's back out. He's the type who causes trouble but never loses charm, which makes him both irritating and endearing. What's stranger is his confirmed timeline. Johnny Smokestack lives in the year 5690, and despite all his antics, he's destined to co-own the mysterious factory looming behind him. Guess crime does pay, eventually. Meatman. The Meatman is a disturbingly odd nocturnal entity, meaning it loves to wander in the dark and will scream at you once hit by a light. Its body looks like something stripped of every layer meant to protect it, all raw tissue and red flesh pulled into a vaguely human outline. The back of its head is unfinished, open enough to show pieces of what should never be visible, which only adds to the unease it creates. The apparent lack of limbs makes this creature all the more unsettling. No arms, no legs, nothing to explain how it moves or how it reaches the places it does. And yet reports say it appears inside bedrooms, climbing into beds as though pulled there by instinct. Nobody knows why, and nobody sticks around long enough to ask. When the night settles in and the lights are gone, the Meatman begins his quiet approach, searching for a raw snack to eat up. Sitting silently. Straight out of Area 51, sitting silently doesn't just sit and pose like a princess, but is a known shape-shifting entity. At first glance, it appears as a pale figure seated calmly, with 2 black dots for eyes and no clear trace of hands or toes. Yet in other moments, those missing limbs emerge, stretched and unsettling, proof that its form isn't fixed at all. The stillness is deceptive. Sitting silently doesn't attack, but it simply waits, letting its quiet posture do the work of scaring whoever stumbles across it. Witnesses often describe the sense that it's testing them, observing while deciding whether or not to reveal more of itself. For this entity, silence is its weapon, a state that turns any room into a stage for paranoia. When it finally decides to move, that calm presence becomes something else entirely, breaking the stillness you hoped it would keep. Highwayman. In Paradise Ridge Road, it's not a hitchhiker that frequents the drivers, but a mysterious figure known as the Highwayman. He's tied to the stretch of road during nights thick with fog, rain, or heavy humidity, conditions that seem to draw him out. Reports of vanishings in the area point back to his presence, though no explanation has been settled on. The most striking evidence comes from a single photograph said to capture the Highwayman mid-attack. In it, he slams his bloodied hands against a car window, the gesture violent and direct, suggesting his intentions are far from harmless. That one image remains the biggest clue to who or what he may be. Nobody knows where he comes from, nor why Paradise Ridge became his ground. Each disappearance deepens the mystery, leaving only questions and the uneasy truth that the Highwayman is still out there, waiting for another passing car. Empty 3. Empty 3 is a red, round and spiky entity with a sinister smile, making it resemble an evil virus. And just like a virus, this creature doesn't just play music but hijacks dreams, turning them into a pink musical nightmare. Anyone who comes across it finds themselves inside a strange room painted soft and playful, with faint music echoing and only one door for escape. That door, however, doesn't lead out. It emerges from a void, with heavy knocks rattling it until the entity arrives. Once Empty 3 appears, it closes the distance instantly, rushing forward with alarming speed. Witnesses claim the sight of its warped face alone brings tears, a breakdown of control as the realization sets in. Victims are left trapped, seated forever in its company, unable to wake or leave. Whatever comes next after that, forced stillness remains hidden, but forgiveness is clearly no longer part of its design. Mighty Flea. A better bloodsucker than Edward or even Drac, the mighty flea, though it loves to feast on blood, is a gentle giant except when it's hungry. Similar to its cousin flea, it spends most of its time clinging to places you'd rather not check, hiding in walls or ceilings until the urge to feed takes over. The only difference is that the mighty flea has more legs and a much longer nose. People who've crossed paths with it don't usually see the creature itself. What they notice are the signs it leaves behind. Deflated bodies, the kind that look like they've been drained like juice boxes, thumping above the roof at night, always moving from one home to another. And that stench, foul and sour, creeping from inside the walls. Most of the time, this monster minds its own business, but when it starts craving flesh, the mighty flea will make you part of its cycle. Corrupted soil. Every 1,000 years, this earthy being called corrupted soil erupts from underground just like a volcano to release its deadly seeds, otherwise known as spores. Its enormous root-like body stretches miles beneath the earth, and when it finally bursts upward, the sky fills with a storm that marks disaster for anyone nearby. Only a few ever glimpse its face, and those unlucky enough rarely live long after. The spores drift down, infecting townsfolk and twisting them into grotesque forms. Tentacles sprout from places they were never meant to, reshaping bodies into living carriers. Victims sometimes remain partly aware, trapped in a shell they can't control, but that awareness fades as the corruption takes hold. There is no known cure, no way to stop the transformation once it begins. Those consumed either hide themselves or spread the infection further, continuing the cycle until corrupted soil sinks back into the ground to wait again. Desidario. Desidario looks like a white skeletal tree that learned how to float. I mean, if his face isn't enough of a red flag, the floating is an extra sign. He targets people who are isolated and chronically ill, specifically the kind who have stopped trusting doctors. And once he's picked you, he floats up close and starts whispering things like, "They'll never find your cure. And even if they did, they'd only make you sicker." So, yeah, terrible bedside manner, but effective when you've been sick and alone long enough. Once he's in your head, he moves into your body. He hollows out the victim's abdomen entirely, using the cavity to store medications and grow a fetus-like parasite inside it, one that stays physically connected to the host's organs through a supernatural umbilical cord. So at that point, the victim has lost control of their own body from the inside out. That's when he produces a pair of scissors and cuts the cord. The body splits apart and collapses into a grey husk, while something fairy-like, what's left of the victim, floats out and descends into the ground. He frames this as the cure he promised, so not only does he hollow you out, he bills you for it at the end. The only way to avoid him is to not be his target. Someone isolated, suffering in silence, and convinced no real help exists. Basically, if you're not an average Redditor, you're safe. Frankiel. Not every Dr. Nowhere character is trying to kill you. Some of them are just tragic, and Frankiel is about as tragic as it gets. He's a tall, slender man with tan skin, one ear on one side of his head, a nose on the other, and a permanently open abdominal cavity where his stomach should be. He wears blue suspender jeans and lives alone on the edge of the city, far enough from everyone else, like a Discord mod. And because of that isolation, he spends his days pulling medications out of the hole in his stomach and swallowing them, convinced something is deeply wrong with him and that nothing he takes is actually fixing it. He's right, by the way, just not for the reasons he thinks. Desidario is the thing living inside that cavity, quietly making everything worse while Fran blames his own body for it. Eventually, Fran succumbs to whatever Desidario was doing inside his body and he becomes a whole that's barely recognizable. Dr. Herring. Picture a tall, lanky figure in a long red trench coat with arms that hang almost to the ground. Now give it a burlap sack for a head, 3 large spikes jutting out of the top of that sack, and surgical tools where its hands should be. That's Dr. Herring, and he is exactly as welcoming as he looks. He's tied to something called the melting bath, and his entire function is to guard it, deciding who gets access and who doesn't. His method of turning people away involves using his surgical tool hands to attack, and he only does so because guarding the bath is his job, not because he enjoys it. What's actually inside the melting bath is something nobody has reliably come back to answer, which given everything about the creature guarding it is probably information you don't need. If you somehow find yourself standing in front of it, treat Dr. Herring the way you treat any security guard. Smile, back away slowly, and don't ask what's behind the door. Melting bath. This guy is a 15-foot tall, shadowy figure that proves having a head is entirely optional. It wanders on all fours with spindly limbs and claws that suggest it's probably carnivorous, even though it has no visible mouth. Now, you won't actually stumble into it because you're gonna have to deal with Dr. Herring first. Not that you'd want to get access to it in the first place anyway. Fun fact, it probably has at least 2 versions due to the different skin colors being depicted by the creature. Disease. This one doesn't need to be in the same room as you. It doesn't need to touch you, follow you, or even know your name. All it needs is for you to look at a picture of it to really mess you up. Disease is a massive flesh entity with an abnormally large torso, broad shoulders, and a long neck topped with a small white face. Its eyes are hollowed out, veiny protrusions crawl up its neck, and the flesh around its upper body bunches up in a way that makes it look like it's wearing a turtleneck made out of itself. Its classification is cognitohazard, meaning the image itself is the weapon. Looking at it causes insanity and blindness, and it infiltrates your bloodstream kinda like, well, a disease. While it's very problematic and powerful, the survival tip is pretty simple. If someone sends you a picture of this guy, just don't open it. Except now, you've looked at it by watching this video, so I guess, good luck. The Great Leper. The Great Leper is classified as a Nephilim, which typically implies something celestial and powerful. And then you see it dressed in a white shirt and beige shorts, and you wonder if it's just someone's dad on vacation. But then you see it has no face, no stomach, and the upper side of its left arm is completely gone. Its right hand has been replaced by the exposed jagged remnants of its own radius and ulnar bones. On top of that, its entire body is covered in large, bloody sores and holes from a form of leprosy that is actively eating through it as it walks around. However, the great leper doesn't attack at all. Instead, it's just cursed to wander a beautiful garden in a state of perpetual decay, roaming until it's finally done with life. Michael Tedford. He didn't start out as a monster, but what's left of him now is a tall, pale humanoid with thin, long limbs and dark spots across the torso that are almost certainly not ketchup. Where his face should be, there's a blue box with text that reads, "The face you're looking for no longer exists." That's because it doesn't. A breathman took his face and mounted it onto its own body, which apparently broke something in the fabric of reality, just enough for government officials to show up and haul whatever remained of his existence off to an anomaly testing site. So to be clear, the hazard here isn't what Michael Tedford does to you, it's that something got to him first, wore the evidence, and the universe glitched hard enough that people in lab coats had to get involved. Severe gargalophobia. Gargalophobia is actually the intense and irrational fear of being tickled, according to our AI overlords. So, yeah, it's a true fear. However, everything about this creature screams teratophobia instead. You see, it's a headless humanoid, a neck just ending cleanly at the shoulders and dressed in dark clothing with arms that hang too long and fingers that look like they belong in a Guillermo del Toro movie. Not much is known about this creature, but there's a few bits of clues that we can look at to get to know it a little bit. This clue belongs in a single 1984 report where 2 teenagers were found lifeless in their beds. When the medical reports came back, it revealed that they had punctured lungs, presumably from laughing non-stop until their hearts, well, stopped. Nightmare Man. He used to be Dr. Nowhere's profile picture, which kinda makes him the mascot of the whole universe. But what is he and what does he do exactly? Nightmare Man is a pitch black creature from head to toe, with arms and legs that are genuinely hard to locate against the rest of his body. He manifests inside the dreams of specific individuals, and he derives genuine satisfaction from their fear and suffering. He actively constructs distressing scenarios designed to carry weight into the victim's waking life, meaning the damage doesn't stay in the dream, it follows you out. A newer version of him has since appeared with 2 additions, ears, and a sun with a face near his torso, possibly representing another creature entirely. Why he got an update is unclear, but the fact that he did suggests he's not done yet. His crimes on record are listed as dream trespassing, which is a remarkably calm way to describe breaking into someone's mind every night to manufacture suffering. There's no way to avoid him because the place he operates in is somewhere you go every night whether you want to or not. The best that can be said is, if you see him in a dream, try to remember it isn't real. He'll spend the rest of the night making sure you're not entirely sure about that. Goblin Sharkman. No arms, 2 legs, pitch black body covered in spikes, pale white head and neck, black eyes, 4 noses, 1 in front, 1 on each side, 1 on the back, and 2 mouths, 1 on each side of its head. It looks exactly as chaotic as that sounds. It appears in Silas's dreams, Silas being Dr. Nowhere himself. This is basically his Roman Empire, but when he's asleep. But that's all we have on it. No hazard type or confirmed threat level, not even an explanation why it exists or what it wants. Thing with never-ending legs. The name is pretty much the whole situation. This one is sitting on a mattress, location unknown, possibly a void, with a head that looks like a star made out of pale puffy material, and legs that simply do not end. Actually, the creature is big enough to potentially be the location itself, which is the kind of sentence that takes a second to fully land. It's classified as a planet destroyer, and its listed skill is getting infinitely longer and digesting planets with its body, which means the legs aren't just a cosmetic issue. The good news is that it's harmless, at least directly, because if you're living on the planet that it wants to consume, then it's game over. Enemy of Dreams. Where Nightmare Man is pitch black and featureless, the enemy of dreams is his scarier big brother. It has a skull-like face with deep hollow eye sockets that seem to absorb light and a distorted grin stretched wide enough to make you deeply uncomfortable about what it finds funny. Now, a smile like that definitely does not have a clean record. Dream destruction and trespassing, meaning it breaks into your dreams specifically to wreck them. And what's worse is, there's no documented way to avoid this creature. Black Hat Trench. 17.5 feet tall, arms that hang all the way down to its feet, and a large black hat pulled low enough to hide whatever is going on with its face. Black Hat Trench is 89 years old, which raises more questions than answers, and its intentions are not really known, meaning nobody has been able to confirm whether it's dangerous or just very tall and very difficult to make eye contact. The detail worth paying attention to, though, is the nooses. There are multiple ones hanging from its arms and no explanation attached to them. Whether they're decorative, functional, or just a personal aesthetic choice is, well, who's gonna ask him? It's been spotted outside, inside a living room, and in a graveyard, which suggests it gets around, and also that it has no strong feelings about personal boundaries or property lines. The Sunman. So imagine you're walking through a field, and out in the middle of it you see something tall just standing there, And as you keep walking, you slowly realize it's a lot taller than you initially thought. It's not moving. It has a head shaped like a kid's drawing of the sun, sitting at the top of a long, skinny body that stretches up way too high to be anything you'd want to share a field with. And once you notice that, you also notice it has way too many arms, and those arms are extremely long. That's the Sunman. He's basically a stick figure that got scaled up to giant size and went a little overboard at the limb store. His head is a flat star shape with two small eyes and a really wide, hideous smile that's looking down at you from an angle that high up. Now, the extra arms are generally assumed to be for hunting, which is quite scary when you realize you don't even need to be standing close to him to be within grabbing range. Also, almost nothing else is known about the Sunman because he's only ever appeared once in Dr. Nowhere's entire catalogue. So there's no origin attached to him, and no real follow-up sightings either. The sun has gone both ways as a symbol throughout history. Some cultures use it to represent life and prosperity, while others use it as a stand-in for death and decay. And given everything else Dr. Nowhere makes, you can probably guess which side the Sunman is on. He's standing in your field, smiling down at you from way up high, and he has too many extremely long arms. You should probably leave. The Housewalker. There's a particular kind of wrong that comes from seeing a 3-story house in the distance on a quiet road at night and slowly realizing you're not driving towards it. It's actually moving towards you. That's a housewalker. It's a creature roughly the size of a 4-story building, somewhere between 40 and 60 feet tall, and it weighs anywhere from 80,000 to 160,000 pounds, depending on which one you're unlucky enough to encounter. Now, the closest comparison anyone's come up with is a hermit crab, except instead of finding a seashell on the beach, this thing finds someone's actual house and just claims it like a giant cosmic squatter. And it gets worse, because from the photos that exist, it looks like housewalkers can either fly or levitate. If you look closely at the house they're wearing, there's a single eye visible somewhere on the structure with a mouth right underneath it. So the house isn't even a passive shell. It's part of the creature, just dressed up like residential architecture. The official survival advice is to just flee the area immediately, and if you can't flee, bring a weapon. Which feels like Dr. Nowhere is actually trolling us, or he forgot that the enemy was a 60-foot levitating hermit crab of concrete in mind. Birthday Giant. If you live in a quiet old town and you're throwing a kid's birthday party, you'll probably notice 3 roughly 40-foot tall figures standing at the edge of the town. They're slowly walking towards your house, just right around the time everyone gets ready to sing happy birthday. Those are birthday giants. They're around 38 feet tall, about 11 meters if you want the metric version, and they're all extremely thin, with no necks, just heads sitting directly on the shoulders. The bodies are pale, either tan or white, but the heads are completely black, and the tops of the heads aren't even consistent. Some of them look like crowns, others look like tree branches. Now, the way these things work is borderline insulting. They live just outside old towns, and they wait around for someone to throw a birthday party. Once the festivities start, they show up and demand to be celebrated themselves, basically crashing a child's party like a giant wedding bouncer hijacking the toast. Dr. Nowhere has described them as almighty jerks, but also suggested they might just be misunderstood. Apparently they're lonely and just want some love, which is the kind of excuse you make for a friend with bad behavior, not a 38-foot creature looming over a birthday cake. If the townspeople refuse to acknowledge them, they migrate away to find a different town with a better party schedule. Roadwalker. There's a stretch of road where, if you happen to be driving past around the wrong time of night, you might catch sight of 2 glowing eyes about 3 stories above the asphalt, and then a roughly 26-foot tall humanoid figure attached to them. The Roadwalker first appeared on April 29th, 2021, courtesy of Dr. Nowhere, and it's basically been the patron saint of "don't stop your car on this road" ever since. The defining feature is the glowing eyes, which cut through whatever darkness is around it and announce its presence to anyone unfortunate enough to be in line of sight. Now, nobody actually knows what this thing wants. Some people think it was built as a weapon, some kind of destructive entity designed to do damage at scale. Others think it's a guardian, set up to protect a hidden truth or some forgotten secret that the rest of us aren't supposed to know about. Which are 2 pretty different theories, and the fact that both of them are still in circulation tells you how little anyone has actually managed to figure out. Its appearances are sporadic, and they always seem to come with a side dish of unexplained phenomena. People disappearing, strange occurrences, disturbances in whatever the natural order of things is supposed to be. So whatever this 26-foot humanoid is doing out there, it's correlated with a lot of bad stuff happening in the surrounding area. The Doctor. There's something deeply unsettling about taking a family photo and noticing an unnaturally tall figure standing perfectly still about 20 feet away. He's wearing a suit and has 6 long arms reaching down past his knees and 4 spikes on his head shaped like a hat. That's the Doctor. This monster is unnaturally tall and slender, with a suit somehow tailored around the 6 gangly arms hanging off of him. His head has 4 prong-like spikes that come together to resemble a hat, and his body is described as constantly shifting, but the face always stays the one you'd recognize if you'd seen him before. Now, the lore on this one is genuinely interesting. He used to be part of a pack of soul vultures, which were entities that tore spirits apart and went out of their way to make humans suffer. But somewhere along the way, he became fascinated with humans, and instead of tearing them apart, he started studying them. He now brings gifts and divine messages to people right before they die, though nobody has ever specified what the gifts actually are. He also leads souls to the afterlife and does whatever he sees fit to them once they get there, which is a sentence that doesn't get less ominous the more you reread it. People who see the Doctor tend to develop chronic paranoia, hear voices at night, and develop a craving for what's described as non-human delicacies, a phrase nobody should be using casually. In 1947, someone took a family photo on a plot of grassland, and the Doctor showed up in the developed image, standing perfectly still. The photographer said he felt something nearby, turned to look, and saw the entity, at which point it instantly vanished. 4 months after he commented on the photo, he disappeared, leaving only his clothes and personal belongings behind. Amber. A long-fingered hand the size of a baseball bat punching through your bedroom window on a fall night in rural Tennessee is not how most people want to be woken up. But if you're a small child going to sleep, that might be exactly how it happens, because what you just might encounter is Amber. She's a vaguely humanoid creature between 13 and 33 feet tall and roughly 456 pounds, with reddish-brown skin and absurdly long arms and legs that look like they were designed specifically for chasing things down. She has no head. Instead, there's an eye on her chest that splits open to reveal a mouth, which is genuinely one of the more inventive ways to design a face if your goal is to make sure nobody can ever sleep again. Now, the name Amber is a reference to Amber Alerts, which is the US system used to broadcast information about taken children. That's not a coincidence. Amber specifically targets children, and the most well-documented account of her behavior comes from a young man in Tennessee who watched her break a hand through his neighbor's window and pull a child out before munching on the kid whole. She's most active between fall and early spring, and she likes to gallop across rooftops and suburban streets in the middle of the night. Her fingers are long and strong enough to break through window glass without slowing her down, which makes pretty much any normal home an open buffet. The official survival advice is mostly just, don't be outside at night, board up your windows, and watch your kids, which is the closest thing the entry has to a strategy. There's no known way to stop an attack once it starts, only ways to make yourself less appealing as a target before it does. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe. And if there's any video idea you want me to cover next, drop it in the comments. I always check them out. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.